Welcome into the Boston Sports Summit. I am your host, Tim Barnett. And oh my gosh, what a win on Monday night. The Patriots obliterated the Giants, absolutely destroyed them. It was a heck of a game. And we're going to be talking about that. We're going to talk about the game day grades. We're also going to talk about my video that has been going crazy recently about how NFL fans are soft for what just happened on Monday night. So that's going to be a fun one. And we got a little bit of Red Sox, and we're going to touch on the Bees. We're going to touch on the Celtics. You know, we got to keep up to date. You know, we got to keep track of what's going on. So, start off, of course, with the Patriots. I mean, I thought this game was going to be a close one. I thought the Patriots going to pull it out late, winning by a touchdown, 28-21. When in reality, the Patriots obliterated them, and just the game was over by halftime, winning 33-15. And what a game it was. Just a really fun one. I mean, it was so obvious that after Marcus Jones' punt return touchdown, game was over. It was over. That was it. You know, we were done with that. So to be able to win going into the bye week, to win on a Monday night, to have played 13 straight games and be able to have come away as unscathed as they have. They've dealt with some things, dealt with some injuries, but man, they're looking prime, they're looking good, and playing the way they played. Ooh, man, it's right there. Prime December, January football at its finest. But we're going to get right into the game day grades, starting with guys who I thought were fantastic, got A grades, including Christian Ellis, Marcus Jones, and, of course, Drake May. And speaking of Drake May, it's kind of getting obvious now. Like, of course he's going to get A's. I mean, don't get me wrong. Even when he's had good games, I've given him B's. You know, I thought there were little things that he could fix up. But this is what we expect. Giving him an A is kind of an obvious choice, right? So, you know, just reading his stats, the total for the game, he was 24-31 for 282 yards and 2 touchdowns, giving him a 126 passer rating. Really damn good. But he was even better in the first half. In the first half, he was 16 of 20 for 207, those 2 touchdowns, and a 143.13 passer rating. I mean, he was on a mission on Monday. It was, I am going to ball out. How we played in Cincy the week prior, we're not doing that again. And now we're going to go get that 10th win in a row. Oh, there it is. Get that 10th win in a row. We're going to go into the bye week on a high, be the number 1 team in the NFL, and Drake May went out and showed it. You know who else showed it? Christian Ellis. This is a guy I've been kind of up and down with, and my ups with him have not been very high ups. Like, he hasn't blown me off the charts. He hasn't really done much for me in terms of, performing to the level that I wished or hoped that he could. But, oh my gosh, on Monday night, he put the definition of linebacker back into the NFL fold. Like, what he did was he set linebackers back 20 years, but in a good way, because Ellis just came out laying down the law. I haven't seen a hit like that where Ellis knocked out into next week since probably Brandon Spikes playing Georgia, going right up the B gap, knocking Noshawn Moreno on his ass. Like, that was just as big of a brutal hit. And what Ellis did to that was awesome. The dude was laying down the law, and it was a perfectly legal hit. There was nothing wrong with it. And the referees, for once, actually got it right by not making a call on that hit. And Christian Ellis was like, as he's getting shoved and, punches thrown at him, he's sticking his hands up like, hey, I'm good. I did nothing wrong, and the referees, again, got it right. If anything, it was on the Giants. So And not for nothing, too, while Christian Ellis is showing off his power and hit ability like that, he also led the team with 10 total tackles and a pass breakup. I mean, Christian Ellis was everywhere on Monday night. And speaking of everywhere, so wasn't Marcus Jones. Marcus Jones, the man who is one of the most dangerous punt returners in NFL history, basically broke the game wide open for the Pats. After our first drive down the field, the Giants get the ball. They punt directly to Jones, right dead center, in between the hashes, and he just takes it back 94 yards. I thought the punter was going to shove him out of bounds, and all of a sudden, it's just how he threw his body at Jones. It's almost like he was trying to do a breaststroke there, throw his arms out wide like that, and by doing that, Jones brushed him off, somehow stayed in the field of play, ran right up the sideline for a 94-yard touchdown to put the Pats up 10-0. Even though we just marched down the ball down the field, got it in the red zone, and couldn't punch it in. Again, which I'm going to talk about in probably about 15 minutes. But Jones, that punt return also made what he does as a punt returner official, because now that 94-yard punt was his 75th punt return. And by doing that, records can now be kept for Jones. Everything that he does from here on out can be put in the record books. And as it currently stands, Marcus Jones is in the record books for highest career punt return average at 14.6 yards per return. He needed 75 punt returns minimum. And now Marcus Jones is in the record books if he retired today. So kudos to him, man. And it's so funny that he's the guy, because I would have thought that Devin Hester, or Cordero Patterson would have had more return yards. But, hey, I'm loving it. Just to have that dynamic threat on special teams is huge. Again, if all three phases, man, all three phases, offense, defense, and special teams. Because every now and then, when the special teams unit makes a play, oh, man, that changes everything. The momentum swing is massive, massive. So those guys all get A's. As for B's, I gave it to the O-line protection and the receiving core. Now, the O-line protection, we're missing Will Campbell. We're missing Jared Wilson. And Garrett Bradbury is deathly ill. And yet, the O-line allowed a pressure rate of 25%, which was the second lowest of Drake May's career. Excuse me. So that was fantastic. And here that's part of the reason why I thought this was going to be a close game last week, heading into this game, because as up and down as Will Campbell and Jared Wilson have been, they've been stable. They've been very stable and been able to hold their own, especially Will Campbell, arguably being our best offensive lineman this season. So I was very happy about that. Having Vidarian Lowe come in, Ben Brown come in, Garrett Bradbury somehow playing through a deathly flu that he has, which again, phenomenal. And then the second group that got B's was the receiving core. Extremely consistent. I mean, listen to this. Hunter Henry, 4 receptions for 73 yards on 6 targets. Kayshon Boutte, 4 receptions for 35 yards and a touchdown on 5 targets. Pop Douglas, 3 catches for 33 yards on 3 targets. Stephon Diggs, 3 catches, 26 yards on 4 targets. Mac Hollins, 3 catches, 23 yards on 4 targets. Extremely consistent, extremely reliable. And even Kyle Williams' catch Yeah, I know a lot of Giants fans want to argue with me that his foot was, not in bounds or his foot never touched, and his knee came down first, and we can absolutely have that argument. But Williams' concentration on that catch, massive, absolutely huge, over the top, just in the breadbasket. Beautiful thing. The rest of the guys, I mean, again, just extremely consistent. Hunter Henry, Drake May's security blanket. I don't mind that. That's a hell of a security blanket. So I'm very happy about that. And now, as we're again, it was a very good night. Very good night for the Patriots as a team overall. So a little bit nitpicky, but going to C's, I gave it to Andy Borregales and Christian Barmore. Now, as for Christian Barmore, he was a factor, I thought, in Harold Landry's sack in the first quarter there, because he was getting pressure up the middle, but that was about it. That's the only time I think I really ever saw Christian Barmore get after it. And of course, listen, I understand Milton Williams is a massive loss. Kyrus Tonga not being 100% is huge. So I get it. You need to feed off the other guys as well. But at the same time, Christian, now's the time. I mean, Corey Durden, who we picked up from the Giants, had a bone to pick, and he played exceptional on Monday night, which was fantastic. So, again, I think Barmore can absolutely get to another level. And, and listen, I don't think he's bad. No, but I would like to see him hit that next level while Milton Williams is out, while some of the other guys on the front line are dealing with injuries. So that's kind of the reason why I gave Barmore C. Borregales, on the other hand, he was perfect on extra points, 3 for 3. He was 4 for 5 on field goals. Coming out of the half, missing that field goal attempt was kind of big. Again, we blew their ass out, but we could have put them away earlier, in my opinion. And yes, it was post halftime that he missed it, but still, this could have been 36-15, or had we gotten to 33 off that missed field goal attempt, maybe the Giants just pack it in there and we go down, score a touchdown, and it gets into the 40s and, whatever. Because, again, at the end of the day, scoring points matters, especially when you're playing a team that's 2-10. If it was the Bills, or Denver, and you're missing field goal attempts, that is bigger, but in a whole different way. Because now you're opening the door for them to either catch up or, take the lead for whatever the case may be. If you have an opportunity to score points, score points. And that calls on Borregales to make that freaking kick. Otherwise, hey, 4 for 5, and you're playing a 2-10 team that you kind of blew their ass out. Not much to complain. So, then as for D's, I gave it to Jalen Hawkins and Bryce Barringer. Now, Bryce Barringer, friggin' shankopotamus there. Holy cow, that 22-yard punt was atrocious. And he only punted twice all night. But when you're punting that little, dude, make it count. Okay? You're the punter. You're trying to change the field position, because had he actually not punted 22 yards, had he got it down to the other end of the field, hell, I'd even take a touchback over a shank punt like that. And had he done that, then all of a sudden, maybe New York doesn't score. Maybe New York stalls and we get great field position. Maybe they shank the next punt, or whatever the case may be. So, like I said, all 3 phases. Special teams matters, because when you have a great play like Marcus Jones, the momentum swings in your favor. But when you have a play like Bryce Behringer on special teams and you shank a punt for only 22 yards, momentum swings the other way. So, listen, Drake May's been playing phenomenal. I would love to expect a score on every single drive and never send Bryce out again, because that means we're scoring points. Field goals, touchdowns, the works. But if we have to send him out, we have to be able to trust him. And doing these every other game is not something that we can trust. It's not a punter that we can trust. So Bryce has got to clean it up, because I want Josh Allen to start inside the 10 versus at our 45 because of a shank. And then the last guy I gave it to was Jalen Hawkins, who missed 2 tackles, was key in giving up one of the touchdowns for the Giants, and just had an extremely dumb personal foul call. It's like, Jalen, I appreciate your energy. I appreciate your passion, but smarten up. You know, like, again, what Christian Ellis did, and while all the New York Giants came to defend Jackson Dart, Christian Ellis threw his hands up like, hey, this isn't on me. Like, I mean, it is on me, but I'm good. Like, I'm not throwing punches. I made the hit. It was a clean, legal hit, but I'm not retaliating. And he did the right thing, which is why New York got penalized and not us. So to have that, it's like, what are you doing? Like, come on. So those 2 get D's, and then finally F. I put the goal line offense, and then NFL fans are soft. Now, I'll get to that final one in just a second, but again, goal line offense. We're 1 for 5 in the red zone on Monday night. The longest rush we had inside the 10-yard line. Now, meanwhile, we only rushed 3 times inside the 10. Okay? The longest gain that we got on those 3 rushes was for 2 yards. We had a 1-yard rush, 1-yard rush, and a 2-yard rush. If you're going to be a competent team that can score points in the red zone, you need to be able to run the football. And right now, the Patriots can't do that. Even with our offensive line being fully healthy, we cannot do that. When it comes to the run game in the red zone, my take on it is, who wants it more? Does the offensive line want it more? Do they want to get in that end zone more? Or does the defensive line want it more and want to make sure that they're keeping the offense out of the end zone? It really comes down to that. Now, you can talk to me about technique. You can talk to me about the play call, design, this, that, and the other. Fine, yeah. But at the end of the day, when you break it down to the nitty-gritty, it's basically who wants it more. And so far, the Patriots and their rushing attempts and their O-line running the football don't want it at all. At least it's how it's coming off, because we have back-to-back weeks of being piss poor in the red zone, not scoring touchdowns. And when it comes to playing football in January, whether it's here or, God forbid, we have to go out on the road, we need to score touchdowns. It's that simple. I don't know how else to frame it. When you get inside the 5-yard line, you better be punching that football into the end zone and not settling for 3. Because the difference is, when you're playing a 2-10 team at home and you're 10-2, they're 2-10, and you're at home, yeah, fine. You can settle for a field goal in the regular season. It's okay. Because that 2-10 team is not going to care one way or the other. They're going to see that points were scored and they're going to be bummed. They're going to be wearing for a long night type of feel. Whereas when you're in January and it's the first drive of the game. It's the middle of the second quarter, and you settle for a field goal after failing on 3 attempts, running for 2 of those, all of which were inside the 5-yard line. That defense is going to be elated. And like I said about momentum with special teams, if they can hold you to a field goal in January in the playoffs, that momentum is going to swing in the other team's direction for sure. So punching it in means a hell of a lot more in January than it does now. But now is the test trial to get that out of your system. So I will continue to say that it's an F until they get it right, until they start fixing it, until they start showing that they want it more. But this needs to change. This needs to change. And I would like to see over the next 4 games the adjustments made and the attitude come back and show we want it more. And we're punching it in. Travion Henderson's running, barreling into the end zone. Ramondre Stevenson is falling forward into the end zone. Like, that's what we need to see. And I know they can do it, but I just got to see it. And so the last piece that I gave an F for was not necessarily the game, but it revolved around the game because Christian Ellis laid the hits on Jackson Dart and Gunnar Olszewski on Monday night. He knocked paint off Gunnar Olszewski's helmet and sent Jackson Dart flying into next week, literally. And yet, the amount of Giants fans that agreed the Jackson Dart hit was legal, Dart was still in bounds, yet they claim it's a dirty hit. And the New England Patriots are back to their dirty old ways. Well, first, let me say, give me your tears. I love it. I love being the villain. It's great to have the villain back. Okay? So I am very excited about that. But it also goes to show me how insufferable you Giants fans are. You know, I always rag on, Yankee fans, Montreal Canadian fans, Toronto Maple Leafs fans, Philly fans. I don't talk about LA because there are a bunch of fakers out there. They only care when they win or when they're good. And then when they suck, they kind of disappear. Obviously, it's Hollywood. What do you expect? But, the others, I care. Like the others, I rag on all the time, and rightfully so. But God, did I forget how insufferable Giants fans are. Now, WFAN, big sports radio station in New York, their nightman, Chris McGonigal, had a take, which I was stunned by. Stunned. Because of just how soft it is. And again, I say NFL fans are soft, and because I feel like with any major hit, any big-time hit that lays them out, we're all cringing now. Like, ooh, I don't want to see that. Ooh, like, is he okay? Oh, like, versus, holy cow, what a freaking hit. That was awesome. Whoa. I hope he's all right, but damn. We've been, I guess, taught over the last 15 years to now do the cringy stuff versus the damn. Like, are you kidding me? So this is what Chris McGonigal had to say from WFAN. Take a listen.
99 times out of 100, that defensive player just gives a two-handed shove to the quarterback. He left his feet to lay a devastating type hit on the quarterback. That's a BS play. That is a borderline dirty. The only reason it's not dirty is because his feet weren't in there. I agree it's not a penalty. His head, it's not helmet to helmet, and Jackson Dart is still in the field of play. But that is a BS hit. He did not have to do that. They were comfortable laying dirty hits on the New York Giants last night. The entire first half of that game, the Patriots were comfortable laying dirty hits on them. I don't care what anybody says. The only reason why this is a discussion is because that was an over-the-top hit on a player he did not have to hit like that. 99 times out of 100, that's a two-handed shove. That is not a leave your feet and try and destroy the quarterback. That's bull.
And it's so funny because here he is coming on saying, oh, well, it's 99 times out of 100, it's a two-handed shove. Yeah, because by that time, the quarterback has already stepped out of bounds, number one. Number two, why? This is football, Chris. This is a game where you lay people out. What Christian Ellis did is a fair hit. Jackson Dart was still in bounds, and I don't understand why Giants fans are losing their collective minds. And yeah, thank God Jackson Dart stood right up and was totally fine. He might have had his bell rung the next morning, but he finished it out. He continued to play. It's not like he was concussed, but that was a clean hit. And he said it himself. It wasn't helmet to helmet. It wasn't dirty, even though he wants it to be dirty. But this is the problem that I have, is why are we so soft? Why are we so focused on the, like I said in my reel, what is this, some whamby-pamby crap where you want to be wrapped up in your blankies and you want to sit by the fire with some hot cocoa? Like, no, this is football. Get over yourself. Appreciate the hit for what it is. And like I said, if that was Drake May, I would be more mad that Drake May didn't get out of bounds earlier or slide or do something to protect himself. That's the problem. So don't get mad at us when we play by the rules and knock you into next week. That's not what this is about. You're just mad that your quarterback's a freaking moron. And I see it all the time. NFL fans lose their collective stuff over the fact that these hits come in. And listen, if you have a wide receiver coming over the middle and he's not looking and gets laid out, 15, 20 years ago, that was a good hit. 15, 20 years ago, we jumped out of our seats and we're like, damn, But now we're so soft as a society where we all have to be coddled. And that's what pisses me off, because football is not a sport where you can coddle. Nope. And I don't want to see, if Christian Ellis had to do that play all over again, if he has to do that to Josh Allen in 2 weeks, because Josh Allen is dumb enough to stay in bounds and do all that, I want Christian Ellis to play the exact same way that he did on Monday night against Josh Allen and the Bills. Now, if Josh Allen steps out of bounds and he does that, then yes, then I have a problem, because that's a cheap shot, But it's this idea that, oh my God, we have to be so protective of our quarterbacks. Why? If he's in the field of play like that, if he's a runner, and it's totally fair game. Totally fair game. And yeah, it bothers me to no end, because I hate this idea of being soft. I hate this idea that, we can't lay hits anymore. We're changing the game from what it was 20 years ago to next year we're going to be playing flag frickin' football now. And real football is going to be obsolete. Which ruins everything and the reason why the NFL became the NFL. Yeah, the scoring offenses were great. Rolling up the points was great. But you know what else was great? The fact that guys were getting laid out. There's a reason why some of the biggest videos on YouTube when it relates to the football are massive hit compilations. You don't see that anymore because there are none. Because they're being policed out of the game. Because everybody wants to be so damn soft and so damn cuddly that it's like, oh my God, if you hit somebody the wrong way, you're going to be thrown in jail. I know over in London, you're going to be thrown in jail if you hit somebody like that. Like, they throw anybody over there in jail. You say the wrong freaking word. But still, to get back to the point, it's just insane to me. It's really insane, and just it's not. You're ruining the game. You're ruining the sport. And yes, I don't want to see Drake May get knocked out any more than I want to see Jackson Dart get knocked out of the game. In a perfect world, no one would ever get injured, and they'd be laying people out left and right. In a perfect world, we would be watching NFL Blitz on TV, and no one would get hurt, and everything would be great and hunky-dory. But that's not the world we live in. The world we live in is a world where people can get hurt, where NFL players can get hurt. It's just the nature of the beast, unfortunately. I hate to say that. I hate to sound so callous about it, but what else do you expect? So, I don't know. And trust me, I know I'm picking on Giants fans right now, but you know what I'm talking about. You've seen NFL fans, you've seen fans of every team lose their collective minds. I mean, good God almighty. If that was Patrick Mahomes, Christian Ellis would be thrown in a federal penitentiary in, friggin', I was going to say San Juan, but he'd be thrown in a federal penitentiary, locked up for years if he laid that hit on Patrick Mahomes. Even if Patrick Mahomes was still in bounds. You know? And Chiefs fans would lose their minds being like, oh my God, you touched the golden child. Patrick Mahomes, how could you? It's like, guys, it was a good hit. You know? So that's what I mean by NFL fans. Yes, it sounds like I'm picking on Giants fans, which I kind of am, because, yeah, it's insufferable. I mean, all the Barstool Giants people and everything that just went on with Chris McGonigal. I mean, he probably seems like a good guy, a good sports fan. I got no bones to pick with him except for that comment. And he's like, yeah, he's like, call it soft all you want. It's like, because it is soft, Chris. I mean, what are you talking about? Actually have a spine and say and call out your quarterback. Don't call us dirty. Call out your quarterback for being a freaking moron. Is it that hard? So, again, good night, good win. Now we get the bye week. Very excited about that. And it's going to be a fun watch. No two ways about it. Just to be able to kick back on Sunday, to know that the Patriots are sitting atop the AFC at 11-2. Denver barely squeaked by Washington. If Washington just ran a better 2-point conversion attempt, they would be permanently at the number 2 seed. But then you got Jacksonville, Baltimore as 3 and 4. In the wild card, you got the Chargers, Colts, and Bills. And then in the hunt, you got the Texans kind of coming on there, looking pretty damn good. And then you got the Steelers and the Chiefs. And the Chiefs, who, after that game on Thanksgiving, they might be dead. They might be dead. And Patrick Mahomes may do something that Tom Brady never did, which is take a single snap when eliminated from playoff contention. It's not there yet, but that loss to the Cowboys on Thursday, Not good. Not good. And so, once again, looking over the NFL schedule for the Pats, we got a bye week this week. We got the Bills at 1 p.m., which is confirmed. At Baltimore the following week, at the Jets the week after week 17, and then the final week of the season, we're home versus Miami. And as long as we win out and Denver loses one more game, we'll officially be the number one seed in the AFC after back-to-back 4-13 seasons. I'll tell you, I predicted a 12-5 team. I predicted a very good team, a very good season. But I don't know if anyone could have saw this coming. And the fact that the game versus the Bills can be a hat and t-shirt game, where if we win, we officially clinch the AFC East. All I can say is the good guys are back on top, baby. So that is fantastic. I'm so excited about that. And moving on, we got a little bit of Red Sox news because according to Sean McAdam, now, Sean McAdam of Mass Live said sources familiar with the organization are thinking the Red Sox are okay going over the first CBT threshold, set at $244 million for 2026, which would translate to them absorbing a modest financial loss. Anything beyond that, there's a reluctance to incur bigger deficits, which absolutely infuriates me because how many times between the past 2 years, how many times between the last 74 episodes have I come on here and just raged against the Boston Red Sox and their front office and their ownership group for not spending? Because, quite frankly, I do it a lot. And it's not because I enjoy doing it. It's not because it's the easiest fruit to pick from the tree, even though it is. I do it because it just infuriates me every single time I hear about it. And after trading for Sonny Gray, who they're trying to say is not their number two guy, they're trying to maybe do some backroom deals to get that number two guy. But in all likelihood, they're going to come out of this offseason saying that Sonny Gray is our number two guy. And I'm going to lose my collective mind because this is what they do. This is how they gaslight us. This is how they are spreading already the information out there that, hey guys, listen, I'm just saying, we're already in a situation that we're losing money. We are operating at a deficit. Okay? So please have some patience with us. And you know what I say to that? That is total bullcrap. It is. The fact that the Red Sox and their ownership group want to say that they are operating at a loss or at a deficit if they go over a certain CBT threshold is wrong. Now, the only reason why I say that, it's not like I have their books. It's not like I can open up their books because, not for nothing, they don't want us to see their books. They never do. They never will because of how cheap they are. This ownership group has come on time and time and time again and gaslighted us, saying that, oh, we're cheap, or oh, we didn't have enough, or oh, they wanted too much, or we had to trade the player because they're just a bad locker room guy, even though we all know for a fact that you traded Rafael Devers because of his contract and not because he was a bad locker room guy. Yeah, he didn't gel with the ownership. Yeah, he became very secluded and didn't interfere. I mean, shouldn't say didn't interfere. he became very secluded and just kept to himself after ownership and front office kind of spurned him by saying that Bregman's going to be our third baseman, not Devers. Devers is going to move to DH. So, I mean, there's just a lot of things wrong with this ownership group. And again, just to hear them already say that we operate at a deficit. What does that even mean, deficit? Are you saying you operate at a loss? Or are you saying that instead of making $100 million, we're only making $80 million? You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, this ownership group in baseball is the 6th richest ownership group in baseball. But this ownership group, when ranked among all valuable sports empires, you have Jerry Jones coming in at second place. You have Kroenke Sports and Entertainment coming in at number 1, and Kroenke owns the Avs. He owns the Rams. So that's their number 1. But then number 4 is the Fenway Sports Group. That makes $14.19 billion. $14 billion. And yet they're claiming to be poor because they're spending over the threshold. Can you see why I'm always so upset when they're not going out spending to get Alex Bregman, to get Pete Alonso, to get Kyle Schwarber, to get Joe Ryan, hell, to even get Dylan Cease? Whether he works or he doesn't in Toronto, I don't know. But at least Toronto is showing that they're doing something about it. And by the way, Toronto, I think, is second in Major League Baseball for richest owners. But that's my issue. It's them gaslighting me into saying that they're trying when we all know in reality that they're not. If they were really in on Juan Soto, do you think that their offer would have been $680 million, $690 million, or $700, somewhere around there? Do you think that would have been their final offer if they really wanted the guy? Or do you think it would have been $750, $760, like the Mets, like the Yankees? Same thing with Shohei Ohtani. They refuse to spend money. They're afraid of long-term contracts, which to some degree I understand. Like, I'm not going to sit here and, say that you need to spend on any sort of player at all. No, at the end of the day, I do want them to be smart about it. I don't want them to go after Framber Valdez for a number of reasons. I don't want them to go after Sonny Gray and give him $20 million a year. Technically give him $40 million, but they're getting $20 million back from St. Louis, that whole thing. But that's just a bad contract. And and for what? An average player? So, who failed miserably in his time in the AL East? That's my issue. Is they're more concerned about spending on these one-year contracts just to say that next year we're out of it. And like I probably said last week, when I talked to Chris Cotillo and he said that the Red Sox spent money, I should have done a better job of kind of pushing back on that a little bit, because yes, they spent money on Alex Bregman, but they didn't give him the long-term security that he wanted, and they essentially gave him 3 one-year deals at $40 million. $40 million is a lot of money. Not going to deny that. But then when they came to agreement with Garrett Crochet, I think Crochet undersold himself, and he settled. I think Crochet settled more than the Red Sox went up to meet his offer. I think they got Campbell and Roman Anthony on very cheap deals. They kept him here long term, and they got him on cheap deals for them. And so far, the only one who's living up to it is Roman Anthony. Otherwise, the Red Sox just drive me nuts. And get ready for some more gaslighting when they're not going to pull the trigger on key moves. When they miss on some of these big-name free agents, and I hope they don't, but when they do, get ready. Oh, well, they wanted too much. No, we didn't have the money. We're going to operate at a deficit. No, you're not. You make $14 billion. Or, excuse me, you're valued at $14 billion. You're not operating at a deficit. It's not hard to put the pieces together. So, the Red Sox drive me nuts. And talk about another team that drives me nuts. The Boston Bruins are up, down, all around. I came on here a couple weeks ago talking about them, proving me wrong, going on such a hell of a winning streak. And now we're right back to where we were. Where a few points out of the playoffs, even though we are tied for second in the Atlantic Division. We're tied for second in points with 30, but we're out of the playoffs because the Metro Division has more teams with higher points, which is why it kicks all of us out, basically. So the Bruins are kind of playing right where I thought. And the fact that Swayman gave up 5 goals last night, again, it just goes to show that yeah, he has some great games. Not going to deny that. He has some great moments. And he has some slumps. He has some bad ones. But I'll tell you, his bad ones are just effing bad. Oh, God, do they stink. They stink. Just like last night. He effing stunk it up there. And he got pulled. You know? It's infuriating knowing that this guy is making $8.25 million a year. A year. For a long time. Because Don Sweeney, one, made the bad decision to trade Allmark before locking Swayman down. And then two, succumbing to Jeremy Swayman and his owner. And his general manager. My goodness. And his agent. See, I know what I'm talking about. But by paying him $8.25, what are we doing? You know, like I said, if I was the general manager and I traded Linus Allmark before I locked up Swayman, and then Swayman came back to me and said, nah, we're not going to accept your 3-year bridge deal that's going to be worth $6 million. No, we're demand that you pay us 8, 9, 10, whatever they wanted. I don't know exactly what it was, but somewhere around that range. And the problem that I have with that is simple. You know, I look at it saying, okay, if that's what you want to do, fine. We'll call up Brandon Boosie. We'll see what we could find on the trade market for, a halfway decent goaltender, because Korpisalo is not that guy. And how many young, fresh goalies come into the fold out of nowhere and all of a sudden win a Stanley Cup? You know, Matt Murray being one of them for Pittsburgh. That's what kills me. That's what bothers me, is they let Swayman dictate the terms. And I've said this before, but again, I'll say it again. If that were me, I would have told Swayman, all right, whether the restricted free agent period or signing was on December 1st or December 2nd, whichever day that was, I would have said, all right, you can hold out all you want. We'll either see you on December 1st or we'll talk to you next year, because this is ridiculous. And we're not going over a bridge deal. You're either going to get a bridge deal or you're not going to play at all. And you're going to have to sit out a year. Try explaining that and try see try seeing what your contract is going to be worth after you sit out a year playing hockey. Because it sure as hell ain't going to be $8.25 million or higher. And, and the Bruins right now, I mean, like I said, they're up, down. This is where I think they're going to be. I said that on the last day of the NHL season, they're going to sneak into the very last seed. That was my prediction. And so far, they're kind of playing up to that. Now, have they dealt with a lot of injuries? Yes, they have. So it makes sense, but at the same time, the team can be so infuriating sometimes. And especially when I see Swayman suck and get pulled, I can't help but come on and rage about his contract. And lastly, just to check in on the Boston Celtics. Boston Celtics have had a couple great wins. They ended Detroit's streak. They beat the Cavaliers, able to hold on to that, and then they were able to hold on against the Knicks last night. And they did it by not shooting a lot of threes. They still shot a lot of threes, but comparatively where they were, they're not doing it. They outscored the Knicks in the paint last night, which is crazy because Karl Anthony Towns was having his way, And that's the thing that I don't know if Joe Mazzulla is coming around to it, but this idea that they need to shoot a million threes because threes are worth more than twos is not right. It's not good. It's not good basketball. And they are playing like the way I want them to play finally. And they're winning. Whoa, shocker. So they're still fighting for a spot right now. They're currently, last time I checked, the 8th seed in the Eastern Conference if it were to end today. And I think, if I remember correctly, I had them as like the 6th seed or the 4th seed. Somewhere between the 6th and the 4th seed. I'm pretty sure it's somewhere around there. But yeah, they're currently sitting 8. They're 12-9. They're 3 games above 500. As I said at the start of the year, their over-under was 40.5. If you didn't smash that over, you just lost easy money. Now, again, similar to the Bruins, Celtics, up, down, up, down. Which Jaylen Brown are we getting? What Peyton Pritchard are we getting? What Derek White are we getting? I love Derek White. I think Derek White's the smartest player on the floor almost every game. But there are times where this team just, looks inept. They fall back into their bad habits. And that's what ruins them. That's what ruins their opportunities. So it's, again, 12-9, 3 games above 500. I still believe that they're better than the 15-7 Raptors. I think they're still better than the New York Knicks. They're better than the Atlanta Hawks, who are half a game ahead of them. This team is not a bad team. They should very well be, just above the play-in line. There's no reason for them not to be. And looking at all of this, I mean, they're playing, they're doing well, but they're not doing well enough. I don't think they're playing up to their full potential. I think these last 3 games have shown that they can, but then their defense has also been atrocious, where they build, once again, these big leads, these double-digit leads, and then they just rest on their laurels, and they don't play defense. They shoot a million threes, and they miss a ton of shots. They take a lot of bad shots, and then they let the team back in, and then they kind of have that oh crap moment, and next thing you know, all right, we're back in this, and they hold on for the win. So, I mean, this winter is going to be really interesting after the Patriots season, whenever that ends. I hope the Patriots make a long run and make it all the way to the Super Bowl, because I don't know if I can handle, January, February, March, and April without with just the Bruins and the Celtics right now because of just how topsy-turvy and all around this is. And don't get me wrong, I'm still going to watch, still going to pay attention, still going to, talk about it, no doubt. But I just want a good team. I want a good product. I want to win, damn it. So, all right, well, thank you guys for sticking around. That is tonight's show. Don't forget, you can follow me on all social media platforms, on the Boston Sports Summit on Instagram, Boss Sports Summit on X, Boss Sports Summit on YouTube. And also, don't forget, we got the Grid Network, great bunch of guys who have a great bunch of content. Also, I'm part of the Saturday morning tailgate talking college football. So tune in for that Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. Otherwise, this is the Boston Sports Summit presented by the Grid Network. I am your host, Tim Barnett. I hope you all have a great week and great weekend. And guess what? The Pats are on a bye. So we get a nice stress-free weekend, nice stress-free Sunday. So have some fun with that. Put up those Christmas decorations, all right? Let's go. All right. Thank you guys so much. And, as always, God bless. Thank you.